Welcome all to Max's Mic. I'm Max and I have the mic, and today I'm going to be talking about the Yankees and the Mets off seasons so far, breaking it down and also getting into a little prediction of how I think the seasons are going to go. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we're going to start off with the Mets. I initially thought of making these two separate videos, but decided let's just make it one, and we're just going to talk about the Mets first. Quick, simple, get them out of the way, and then get into the Yankees, the better team. Anyways, looking at this Mets roster, the big accusation of this offseason was bringing in Juan Soto on a $750 million contract over 15 years, bringing in $51 million per year. However, at the end of the fifth season, the 2029 season, there will be an option in which, should the Mets accept and continue the contract, Juan Soto's contract would go from 51 per year to 55 per year, making it a $805 million contract plus the $75 million signing bonus. Means that probably in about 15 years, the Mets will have paid Juan Soto $880 million. That is insane. That is a lot of money for a guy who, well, is an incredible bat, a generational bat and batter, however, plays mediocre defense and isn't the best base runner. But for a Mets team that really needs that bat, huge upgrade. Huge upgrade. 400 on base percentage, a high 200, nearly 300 hitter. Juan Soto is going to be a difference maker on this team. The Mets bringing back Pete Alonso, but also added Jose Siri, who I believe will be the center fielder to take place of Harrison Bader, another big upgrade for this Mets roster. Now let's get into where my questions lie. And that is with the pitching for this New York Mets roster. The New York Mets, if we pull it up, the New York Mets projected starting rotation is going to include some interesting arms. Really is going to include an interesting arm in Clay Holmes. And before we get into the rest of the Mets, I want to just talk about Clay Holmes, because Clay Holmes was a relief pitcher last season for the New York Yankees. And yes, in recent history, former Yankees relief pitchers have become really stud starting pitchers. Now, not many of them. There have been two, Nathan Eovaldi and Michael King. And Clay Holmes looks to be the third. However, unlike Clay Holmes, Eovaldi and King became starting pitchers under the Yankee, we'll call it regime for lack of a better word, while still working with Yankee pitching coaches. Clay Holmes has decided to become a starting pitcher at the conclusion of a season in which he was probably one of, if not the worst, closing pitchers in the league. He had the most blown saves in the league, to the point where he actually lost his closing position to Luke Weaver, and now looks to become a starting pitcher in a rotation that's going to include Kodai Senga, who I'm nervous about his health, not coming back from the past injury, but in the future of can he stay on the field, because if he can, he'll be a great pitcher, or he'll be a really solid pitcher. I don't know if he'll be a great pitcher in the terms of amongst the greats, but he'll be a really good pitcher if he stays healthy. And they have Sean Manaea, who's became pretty good. David Peterson's pretty solid. Kinda. Paul Blackburn's all right. And then you bring in another former Yankee, although not coming right off of being a Yankee a year removed, in Frankie Montas, who also didn't do well with the Yankees and was also injured. So there's injury concerns and there's consistency concerns with this pitching staff. The Mets roster looking great. Lindor, Soto, Alonso. It's a pretty solid top three. Nimmo, Vientos, and Winker, who turned it up in the postseason. Alvarez, McNeil, and then Jose Siri at the bottom. Pretty solid roster. Highest batting average is Soto with 279. But you know what? Looking pretty good. Looking pretty solid. So what I think this Mets team is going to end up becoming is, I mean, I don't know how this pitching is going to do. Uh, but I do think that the hitting is going to be able to. It's going to be like a back in the 2017 when the Mets hitting couldn't hit for their lives, but yet the pitching, especially DeGrom, was incredible. I think this year might end up being a reverse, in which the Mets hitting can put up some runs. The pitching isn't going to be able to keep up with that. So going forward, we're going to see how they do. Quite some concerns, though, that I have with the pitching. Now let's flip it over to the big brother in the Bronx and the New York Yankees, who I think had the better offseason. And many will argue, oh, they lost Juan Soto. We'll get into that. We'll get into the Juan Soto and losing him. However, let's look at the real issue that this Yankee team had last year. They didn't have the pitching to do it. They had the roster to make it to a World Series, but they didn't have the roster to win it. And a big piece of that was the lack of pitching. This offseason, they bring back Luke Weaver. Good. They bring back Tim Hill. Happy about that. He threw 8 in the third innings pitched through the playoffs and only gave up 1 run. Really, really solid. They bring back Jonathan Loáisiga. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be an incredible pitcher. Now, let's look into the pitching upgrades that they've made, especially in this bullpen. Recently signed Tyler Matzik, lefty that the Yankees needed, as well as he's been really stellar, especially in the postseason as of late. They bring in Devin Williams, MLB's #1 relief pitcher in the league right now. So now the Yankees, or closer in the league right now. So the Yankees now have Devin Williams, who will probably be the closer, and Luke Weaver will probably go back to being a setup man. But the Yankees have a bona fide 1-2 punch at the bottom of their bullpen. And then they go and they get Fernando Cruz, who's had some issues, but many I've found are really confident in this Yankees pitching coach staff to be able to turn him into a really strong guy. He's got strikeout stuff. It's the consistency is where it's lacking. And then we look over to the starting rotation, and I love Nestor Cortez, but I would rather have a better chance of winning a World Series than have Nestor Cortez as a Yankee. So they get rid of him. They get Devin Williams, which really makes me happy. And then they go out and they sign the guy that, well, you could say whatever you want, but this guy was #1 on my must-sign, must-acquire board. And you could say what you want. Oh, I don't believe you. Oh, I don't think that's true. It is. And that is Max Fried. I love Max Fried. Unfortunately, he has the injury concern aspect to him. However, that being said, he is still an incredible pitcher, and I cannot wait to see him in pinstripes. So the Yankees, they upgrade the starting rotation with Max Fried, and they're going to have Luis Gil back on a second season. And last season, he started off red hot, but he kind of petered off and fell off heavily. And that's because he's still coming back for some injuries and has never thrown that many innings and that many pitches in a season. I believe that while he's not going to start as good, by the end of the season, his stats this upcoming season are going to be much better than last season due to the fact that he's going to consistently play at a higher level. And then they're going to have Clark Schmidt, who, if the Yankees can get him some runs, could be good. Then Cole and Rodon, in which Rodon and Cole, if they can just figure it out and find their old selves, this rotation is going to be lethal. Now, what's going on with Stroman? I don't know. They've been trying to trade him. They also went and got Carlos Carrasco, who's a little banged up, a little injured. But I'm curious to see what happens with them. But this Yankees pitching is incredible. Now let's get to the fielders. Let's get to the fielding. I'm going to start in the infield and what the Yankees have done. And we're going to play a little game of upgrade or downgrade. As of right now, the Yankees still need a third baseman, so I'm going to leave that as whatever. The Yankees didn't really have a bona fide third baseman last year. Jazz is not a third baseman. He's a second baseman. We'll get into that a little bit. So third base stays neutral. Shortstop stays neutral. Second base, This year's going to be Jazz. Last year was Glaber. In the box, about the same. Fielding, Jazz is better, so it's an upgrade. Base running, Jazz is much better, so it's an upgrade. Two to none, so it's an upgrade at second base. Now let's look over at first base. We bring in Goldschmidt in exchange for an injured, aging Rizzo. In the box, Goldschmidt's going to be an upgrade. Base running, probably about the same. Goldschmidt may be better. Fielding, arguably, Goldschmidt's better. So that's an upgrade. So the Yankees have upgraded 2 positions now. Catching is going to be the same. Now let's get into the outfield. We're going to have, as of right now, it seems like it's going to be Dominguez, in which can't really tell you right now, but I think that that's probably going to be, hopefully, I hope it's going to be an upgrade. But as of right now, what we've seen, and the fact that there's still some injury concern in the future with Dominguez and re-injuring himself, something that he's kind of done the last 2 seasons, has gotten hurt. We're just going to say that it's neutral. Let's look at center field. Bellinger compared to Judge. Batting, downgrade to Bellinger. Or Bellinger is a downgrade to Judge. However, base running, Bellinger is faster than Judge, so it's an upgrade. I believe that they're going to make the same base running decisions and have the same brain on the base pass. However, as it becomes to speed, Bellinger is faster, so that'd be an upgrade. Fielding, Judge is not a center fielder. Bellinger is a center fielder. I believe that Bellinger is a better center fielder than Judge, so that's an upgrade. So in actuality, getting Bellinger in center field, although it may not seem like it, is an upgrade to the Yankees lineup. Now, let's look over at right field. And this is where the fun comes in. Because who was in right field last year? A 1 Juan Soto. Who's in right field this year? A 1 Aaron Judge. Let's look at the fielding. Judge is much better than Soto. Let's look at the base running. Judge is better than Soto. Let's look at the hitting. Judge is better than Soto. So the Yankees have stayed the same basically at third, stayed the same at short, stayed the same catching, stayed the same in left. There's much better potential to be an upgrade. They've upgraded at second, they've upgraded at first, they've upgraded in center, and they've upgraded in right field. And then, of course, the DH is going to be the same in Giancarlo Stanton. I believe, and I will confidently get on my soapbox and say that this Yankees team this year is on another level compared to last year's team. Yes, they don't have Juan Soto anymore. Okay, so what? So what? Juan Soto, he got on base. Yes, definitely. And it was not because of Aaron Judge. It's because Juan Soto goes in the box looking to get on base, and he's okay drawing walks. It's what he does. He walks a lot, all right? Judge walks a lot because he's a lethal bat. Now, yeah, he was a non-factor in the postseason, okay? But there's a reason why Aaron Judge is the captain, and it's not just because of his leadership, but it's because of his mentality, his ability to make the adjustments. I believe, yeah, Judge has been a non-factor in the playoffs. Well, guess what? I think that he's going to flip the script around. But before he does that, he's going to need to ensure he stays healthy, because that is the key. As long as Judge stays healthy, he's going to have another record-breaking, incredible season. So look to Judge to really turn things up this season. Bellinger in center, who, is an upgrade. And yeah, the Yankees bats, they're going to be a little iffy, and people are worried, but the lineup, now that you don't have Soto, okay? But we've upgraded the pitching. The Yankees have upgraded the pitching. So hopefully the pitching will be able to hold the opposing team back, and the hitting can put up 4-5 runs a game. That's all you really need. I believe that's all they're really going to need to win most games is 5 runs. And I think this lineup can do that and go and win big. So those are my thoughts. I think that the Mets are going to have another great season. They're going to go on a playoff run. However, at the end of the season, Mets fans are going to look back and realize that the pitching was not there and was not at the level that they needed to really run deep in October. And on the other hand, the Yankees, I think they are going to run deep. And I think that if they can just get a third baseman, whether that be Bregman or Arenado or somebody else somehow, or magically Cabrera or LeMahieu turn into an incredible third baseman, as long as they can figure out and get a bona fide really good third baseman, this Yankees team is legit, is lethal, and should be feared by everyone in the league. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want to see more content from me, like and subscribe. A lot more content is going to be coming out. A lot of draft content as the NFL draft and the combine are coming up soon. Going to be posting later either this week or next week a video, and I'm going to slowly start pumping out some videos breaking down each position group in this NFL draft and sharing my thoughts. Probably going to be some short, quick videos. If you want even more content, I'm going to be posting over on my Instagram at Max's Mike on Instagram. Go over there, check me out. There's going to be a lot more content going on there, a lot more picks, predictions, short form clips, quick hitters, big news, making content on there. So that's how you can check me out. If you want to see more, hit like, subscribe. If you did enjoy, as it tells me that, well, you liked it and you want to see more content. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you soon with probably the next video is going to be some draft content. So stay tuned to that. Until then, take care and goodbye.